In this video, I'm going to show you how to change the transmission filter in a Chrysler 6-speed transmission. So follow along step by step. We'll get the service done. You won't have to take it to a dealer or mechanic. You'll save yourself a lot of time and money. Show you where the fill tube is at on this. If you follow my finger, it is straight down right there. You'll see a little black cap. You simply turn that counterclockwise, and that's where your funnel will go in. And that's how you fill the transmission fluid. So now that we're under the car, more towards the driver's side, you're going to see the transmission pan right here. You're going to have some screws all the way around it. Now from the factory, they use RTV. You can see the sealant right there, but I'm going to be putting on a new gasket. So this is the pan right here that we're going to be dropping down. This job, it's going to make kind of a mess. So I have an old moving blanket, or you want to use an oil absorbing mat. And then I have an oil catch plan right there. So once we take this off, you are probably going to get some fluid on your arms. It's going to splash on your garage floor. So if you don't have that, you can always put down some cardboard. All right, so you'll notice all of these screws all the way around the pan. You're going to need an 8mm socket and an extension, and we'll go ahead and start loosening those up. Now I'm actually going to start on this end because the car is on ramps and it's a little bit tapered, so I'm hoping that a lot of the fluid will go right into my catch pan. Here's a trick I want to show you. You don't have a transmission dipstick, so I've taken my oil dipstick, and you'll see my tape measure. I'm lined up at the end of my oil dipstick. I put some blue tape at about 13.5 inches. Now I'm going to insert the oil dipstick and see where my fill level is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my oil dipstick down into the transmission fill tube until my blue tape touches the top of the transmission fill tube. Pull it back out. Now as you can see, I have transmission fluid right here. So from this hump to the transmission fluid is about 1/2 inch. So that's going to give me a reference. So when I go to add fluid, it's going to give me a really good starting point of where I need to put the fluid. And this is what you want to happen. You want it to go to the front, angled down. It's all going right into my oil catch pan. Now I have loosened up the screws there on the back side, maybe about halfway, but I've taken all of the rest out. This allows for a little more of a controlled drain. Now if you can't get your pan to come loose, give it a tap with a rubber mallet, just a couple small taps, because they are sealed with RTV from the factory, and that will break it loose real easy. Let it drain for about 5 minutes, and then I just kind of broke it loose all the way. So you can see it's hanging down probably about 1 inch in the front. And I just loosened these screws up a little more in the back. So I got about 90% of the fluid in my catch pan doing it this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove these back screws and let the pan come down. Now with the pan removed, you'll see the filter right here, and you have one screw right here, one screw right there we need to remove. Now I've seen these be T25s and T27s. This one happens to be a T27. So go ahead and remove those 2 screws and pull the transmission filter down. Now with the transmission filter out of the way, you'll see that it goes up into this hole right here. There's a little gasket right there. It's kind of an O-ring. Your new filter will have a new one. So just grab this with some needle nose pliers and pull this out. And here's that new piece I'm talking about. It's going to come with your new filter. Now at this point, you want to clean all the RTV sealant off of the drain pan, and you also want to clean the magnet. This is your chance to inspect if there's any metal in the bottom of the pan and see how well your transmission's doing. So now I'm going to get this all cleaned up. All right, so taking out that old O-ring is kind of pain in the butt. I used a flathead screwdriver, kind of got it under there and finally got it popped out. And then putting the new one in, I put oil on it first. Got it started, and then you just kind of tap it up there. You could use a hammer and a small wood block. Just tap it real easy all the way around until you finally get it seated. And here is the new transmission filter. So we're going to go ahead I'm going to put a little bit of oil on here so it goes up into that O-ring better, and then attach it with the 2 screws. All right, the filter is completely installed. I've got the pan completely cleaned out. I've got the magnet cleaned off. I've scraped off all the RTV. I've got the gasket right here. So we're just going to put a couple screws through to hold the gasket in place and then lift the pan back into position. All of the screws about 3/4 of the way in. I don't have any of them tight yet. You want to leave them all loose so that you can get them all in. You may have to just wiggle it just a little bit. But once you get them all in, now we can go ahead and start tightening them up. All right, at this point, I've got all of the bolts snug on the transmission drain pan. And now we need to tighten them to 105 inch-pounds or about 9 foot-pounds. So if you have a torque wrench, go ahead and tighten them all up. And I kind of work my way around back and forth, tightening up a little bit at a time. At this point, we're pretty much done under the car. You just want to make sure that you've cleaned all around that transmission pan. You don't want any oil anywhere, because in a couple days you can crawl under there and check and see if there is any. So if you leave some oil on there and you check it in a couple days, you may think you have a leak. That's why you want to clean all that up really well, check it in a couple days, and if you do see any transmission fluid, you know you have a slight leak. Engine cover was getting in the way slightly of that funnel. I want that funnel to be down into the fill tube nice and tight. I don't want it loose. So I just popped the engine cover off, stuck the funnel in place, and I'll go ahead and grab some ATF +4. Now you're going to put 5.5 quarts of ATF +4. And then you can use my oil dipstick method just to double check that you have the same amount of fluid in there as you did before. So now we're going to reinstall that cap. It says for dealer use only. Let's go ahead and push down and turn clockwise until it tightens up. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put the engine cover back on. All you got to do is push straight down, push itself in place. Now I remove the tape from my oil dipstick. We'll go ahead and reinstall that. Close up the hood. I'm going to go ahead and start the car and drive it in reverse down off of the car ramps. Alright, so now I'm just going to put the car in all the gears. I'm just going to let it sit there for about 5 seconds in each gear. Now you just want to do this before you start driving. So go from park all the way down to drive. And then go ahead and go all the way back up to park. Leaving it in each gear for about 5 seconds. I'm going to let the car sit and run for about 10 minutes, get it up to operating temperature, and then go ahead and drive it. But for the first 10 miles, just drive it real easy. That transmission's working all that new fluid in there. There is some of your old fluid still in there, so it's kind of mixing together. They're getting to know each other. So just drive the car easy for about 10 miles, and then you should be good to go. Hope this video helps you out, and thanks for watching.